pandemic, the Commission is meeting virtually. The meeting is being streamed live on the Port's YouTube channel. For first action, I'll call for a motion, and second for approval of the minutes of the special committee meeting of September 8th, 2020, and the regular commission meeting of September 9th, 2020. I'll ask.
I would so move.
Second.
Do we have a second? Thank you. Pam, could you call the roll, please?
Yes, Commissioners Alexander.
Present.
Kupro-Comas.
Aye.
Lamb.
Aye.
Levy. McDonald.
Aye.
Nemi. O'Halloran.
Aye.
Pierce. And Saruda.
Aye. Here.
Thank you. I'll ask Curtis for the executive director's report and his remarks.
Great. Thank you, Madam President. Good morning, commissioners. Welcome guests. We're trying this morning for the first time to work our public comment period so that the public is actually able to comment in person. And so thank you, commissioners, and for our guests for your patience here as hopefully we get it worked out. And thanks to our IT team as well for helping connect everyone. First, I'd like to acknowledge the Port's monthly safety champions. Again, you'll see them on the screen now. Again, just an outstanding effort from members of the Port team across Port businesses, trying to help each other stay safe, help our business partners, customers, community stay safe. And so my personal thanks to them once again for going above and beyond. We're really making great steps on safety, and it just really comes down to everyone making decisions every day about safety and being willing to stop work to make sure we get it right. Stan Waters, are you on, and can you give us a safety message this morning?
Yeah, I'd be glad to, Curtis. My message today supports earthquake drills at work and at home. The Great Oregon Shakeout is this week. Prior to COVID-19, the Port would have earthquake drills in our headquarters facility along with our other locations to drive awareness, exercise, and critique our preparedness plans. With support of our employees' safety committees, all employees were involved. This year, we are partnering with emergency management to offer virtual notifications of the earthquake drill to our employees wherever they may be working from. Since most of us are working remotely this year, it's a great opportunity to practice drop, cover, and hold on with our families. Tomorrow, on October 15th at 10:15, the Port will broadcast an email, ping Port mobile phones that have emergency notifications enabled, and notify virtual EOC membership with a reminder to drop, cover, and hold on. For those employees who participate in conscious conversations at that time, the Great Shakeout will be noted as well. Employees who capture a photo of themselves executing the earthquake drill can post it on Yammer to enter a props award drawing as part of the emergency management's month-long preparedness challenge. Last year, the Port hosted earthquake preparedness expert and TEDx speaker Steve Eberlein to raise awareness on earthquake risks in the Pacific Northwest and to gain knowledge on how to properly prepare. If you couldn't attend or would like a refresher, Steve is offering a free webinar entitled "Unfollow Your Instincts, Straight Talk About Earthquake Safety" on Thursday at 5 p.m. this week. You can look at the Yammer Port preparedness page for the RSVP link and to submit questions. All Oregonians can join the Great Shakeout event by registering their family or organization to be prepared to survive and recover quickly from big earthquakes wherever you live, work, or travel. Resources on that can be found at www.shakeout.org/Oregon. Curtis, that's my safety message this morning.
Terrific, Stan. Thank you. I know that Great Shakeout for me means not only preparedness for earthquakes, but also my annual visit to the underside of my desk to see what I've dropped over the course of the previous year. So I hope everyone gets a chance to check out what they've lost. Thank you for the safety message this morning. Just by way of update, a number of items this morning, commissioners. First, we have added anti-racist language to our core values statement. I shared with employees last week this important step as an organization to add anti-racist language to our core values of leadership, inclusion, and service. We added new language under inclusion that makes our work explicitly clear. Quote, we acknowledge and actively work to dismantle institutional racism in our workplace. I'm really happy about the language and got some great feedback from employees about that update. In air cargo, we've tried to keep you posted on one of the few bright spots at PDX. As these flights continue to bring much needed goods and medical supplies into the region, air cargo is up 7.4% overall in 2020. Domestic air cargo numbers are even stronger, up just over 10% at 10.3 for the year. So in a time when most of our flight news is not good, while we have sort of a gradual return and recovery with a bit of plateau right now, air cargo is just cranking. Update on T6 and labor. The ILW and Pacific Maritime Association recently reached agreement on increased staffing at the waterfront. This is really good news for us. I weighed in personally, as did Governor Brown, to say that T6 is really a crucial asset for the region and for jobs in the region. And we were able to help get an additional 100 or so workers available for our terminals out at the T6, but also in the range of local 8. So we're really happy about that. Should really help us service the vessels as they arrive. We've actually been doing really well out at T6 with high productivity numbers the last couple calls. So really happy about that work. You may have seen news about the Hillsborough Airport airfare. Even in the midst of pandemic, we couldn't let our 20th anniversary go by for the airfare. We did have a celebration. It was a physically distanced celebration. Many of you will know we usually host an event for about 1,200 people in October, opening up the airport to the public. This year, we abandoned that approach and hosted a free drive-in movie showing the Academy Award-winning film Coco, which is terrific. I cried in it, in both Spanish and English. Thanks to our partner Centro Cultural for registering this family-friendly event. It was filled with folks for hours. So really just a great event. Thank you again to Centro Cultural. I do want to thank State Representative Teresa Alonso Leon, who joined us for our all-employee town hall this month. I was honored to have her on to help commemorate Hispanic Heritage Month. She shared with us really remarkable story about growing up, a daughter of migrant farm workers, the life-changing role of teachers and counselors in her journey. She was really incredible, and just the compassion and kindness that she experienced as a child and her inspiration for pursuing public service. So thanks again to Representative Alonso Leon. In terms of Congress, I've tried to keep you updated there. We continue to share the ongoing impacts of the pandemic on port operations with our delegation. They have been in very good touch with us. We're grateful for the communication. We're still doubtful, I'd say, prospects for a new bill supporting COVID recovery are unclear. We remain hopeful for both additional direct support for airports, support for concessionaires, and airline payroll support. But honestly, we just don't know yet how that's going to shake out. So with that, Madam President and Commissioners, that's the end of my comments this morning.
Thank you, Curtis. I'll call for motion and second for approval of the Executive Director's report.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Pam, would you lead us through a roll call vote, please?
Yes, Commissioners Alexander,
Aye.
Kupro-Comas,
Aye.
Lamb,
Aye.
Levy,
Aye.
McDonald,
Aye.
Nemi,
Aye.
O'Halloran,
Aye.
Pierce,
Aye.
and Saruda.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pam. Want to acknowledge that we've received written comments from Barbara Quinn, and we've also received requests from several people to provide live testimony. I'm going to call on folks in order that they signed up, and I'll ask them to keep their comments to 2 minutes. Please, when I call on you, State your name and affiliation. So first we'll have Matt Stein.
Good day, Commissioners. I'm here testifying as a native Portlander, a 21-year resident of St. John's, and a business owner on the property adjacent to the proposed Verizon drone facility here in St. John's. There's a multitude of reasons to oppose this project, and here are a few. The process for this project has been rushed and with almost zero outreach to the community by the port or by Verizon. The land use decision of the City of Portland is still under review thanks to a couple of 30-day extensions. The neighborhood began learning about the proposal less than 2 months ago. It's taking time to get the word out and allow people to voice their concerns. The port, a public entity, has a record of conducting its marine-related business without bothering to engage the public. Almost 20 years ago, the port decided to move the railcar loading facility to the lot at the end of Bradford Street. The port assured the community that this would not be disruptive to the neighborhood. For the last 16 years now, our community has had to live with excessively long blockages, preventing access to and from our park, and the blowing of train horns at all hours of the day and night. This happens every single day. And now you are considering adding the incessant buzz of drones to an area that already suffers from extensive noise pollution. Verizon's not telling the truth about their plans for this site. They are spending millions to build an access road, bring in fiber optic cable, and develop their facility. Their representatives came to our neighborhood meeting a month ago and misled us. They quoted operating data from their site in Hillsborough to tell us that the activity at the site will be minimal, with only a couple of drones flying a couple times a day. I can't believe that they are spending that kind of money to fly for a couple hours a day. They also misled people about the technology that they are developing. The primary purpose of this facility is learning to control drones via the 5G network from a remote location. They left that meeting expressing a desire to meet with the community and talk again about the possibility of a good neighbor agreement. We've not heard a peep from them since. In 2007, the port forced the sale of that land that the project is proposed on so they could expand the Toyota parking lot. That project fell through, and the port has now sat on the vacant land for 13 years. Now this project comes along, which is completely unrelated to the reason the port used eminent domain to take the property, and there is no effort to consult with any potentially affected parties as to the appropriateness of the proposed use and its potential effects on the community. The proposed use is not appropriate for this site. Verizon's assertion that the public right-of-way that is the Willamette River is the safest place to test their unproven and dangerous technology is absurd. They should lease or buy a large parcel of land away from population centers where they can fly their drones without putting any human at risk or injury or death. If one of their drones flies out of control. I ask that the Commission deny the lease to Verizon and engage with the community to determine a more appropriate use for this small parcel of land along our river. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Stein. Next we have Casey Cohen.
Good morning, Madam President and Commissioners. My name is Cassie Cohen. I was born near the Willamette River in the Portland Harbor Superfund site at the old Best Kaiser Hospital, now converted to Adidas. My family and I still call the Portland area home. I am the executive director of the Portland Harbor Community Coalition, a group that since 2012 has elevated the voices of disproportionately impacted communities in order to influence the Portland Harbor Superfund cleanup, restoration, and redevelopment, as well as to secure community benefits for communities who have been burdened intergenerationally. We work very regularly and in good faith with the port on Superfund related issues. The proposed drone facility is right on the Superfund site, so we view this as related. We know that there are already over 400 concerned community members and counting about the port's proposed lease to Skyward and Verizon at the North Markham site. I have not yet had time to educate all of our coalition members about the proposed drone facility leasing agreement. Our coalition meeting occurs tomorrow. And also we are grateful that the port will soon schedule a public forum on this subject. We urge all port commissioners to be in attendance at that forum. Many community members who live around the proposed drone testing facility share the following concerns, and this is what we've heard so far. Community members don't believe the proposed use should be considered a river-dependent use, as the company claims. The drones would disrupt the flight patterns of the peregrine falcons. And we know Audubon Society is very concerned about that, and others. The noise would add to the already existing disproportionate North Portland cumulative impacts of environmental justice issues, including noise, poor air quality, exposure and proximity to the Superfund site, landfills, fossil fuel blast zone, wastewater treatment facility, etc. Also, the drone noise would reflect louder over the river water. The company has been vague about surveillance, privacy, and digital rights, so the community is very concerned that their clients could be law enforcement agencies or that other clients could use the drone facility to test out new surveillance technologies on Portlanders and potentially future international communities who have experienced human rights abuses with drones in the past. The risk that Mr. Stein mentioned, that drone crashes could affect people and wildlife and put people's and wildlife lives at risk. And the community feels that the port should be engaging those who are impacted in the area to determine a better future use for this riverfront property. So my ask for you today is to not move forward with approving a lease for Skyward and Verizon, and to determine a plan to engage the community, including tribal representatives, in conversation about how to repurpose the riverfront site. Thank you for your time and thoughtful consideration.
Thank you very much. Next, we have Michael Pouncil.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you. All right. Hello, my name is Michael Pouncil. I'm with, turn on my camera, sorry. I'm with Portland Harbor Community Advisory Group. Thanks for the opportunity for being able to share what my community here in North Portland would like to see happen to Willamette Cove. I'm going to start with the ask. Our community wants to see alternative 3B, the alternative excavation and offsite disposal, in the DEQ report used at Willamette Cove. We do not want to see alternative 4C that is preferred by the Port of Portland. I live 3 blocks away from the Willamette River here in North Portland. It's a beautiful site. I don't know if you guys have ever been here, but you should come and check it out sometime. This place has been a sanctuary for artists in the past and for community members, and it still is a sanctuary today. I have seen youth catch and release from the shores of the banks of Willamette Cove, neighbors walking their dogs, mountain bikers, trekkers. There's also been some homeless folks that I've seen there as well. This is a claimed urban community space. The community has been working tirelessly to make sure that the community space remains what it is. A place for North Portlanders and all Portlanders to come together next to the river. However, we know that it needs to be cleaner, safer, healthier, remain welcoming, and have accessibility to the Willamette River. This is our only chance to get this site cleaned completely. Metro has been in meaningful exploration to fund the difference of the complete cleanup versus the cleanup that leaves pollution at Willamette Cove and significantly underestimates the long-term maintenance of a cap. We see that for the port, that this is a great opportunity to work with Metro to use the alternative 3B and the additional funding that Metro has been exploring to have a full, safer, long-term cleanup and preserve the second only accessible area to the Willamette River in the whole northern reach for community. We also want and are asking for the port staff to work with community to set up a Willamette Cove community listen session with the port commissioners. Just really appreciate your time on this. Community really wants to see this site become a real benefit in this area. And thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your time. Next is Tama Devers.
OCO, my name is Toma Devers. Thanks for your time this morning. I'm Charlie Gee, and just want to make some comments about this drone facility that's proposed on the Willamette River in the northwest port of Portland. I find it very shocking that the public hasn't been more informed about this. I don't understand how Ted Wheeler and the city of Portland is trying to improve trust with the community by operations like this. I just, I think it's outrageous to think about building a drone facility on the Willamette River. There's plenty of other uses that would be much better than a drone facility there. So I think that the land should be given back to the tribes, to indigenous people, and they should be allowed to have an event space there. I have vendor friends who have to pay a lot of money to vend in Portland at some of the convention spaces, and powwow dancers who have to pay, for these events. It's like, why wouldn't the city decide to grant some land to indigenous people on the water? These are sacred sites for us. So I urge you to do not approve the lease for the drone site. I think there's going to be a lot of community pushback if you guys try to build this, frankly. And I think that, I have a question because I keep on hearing these bizarre things about how, the water beneath this drone site has to be clear in case people or things fall into the water. So what does that mean exactly? Does that mean that Verizon owns the river? Does it? Because how are people going to be allowed to walk under there, row their boats, swim if they need to? It's just such an outrageous plan. And it's just shocking that the commission would even consider this. I mean, it's really shocking. I'm just sorry. I don't mean to be rude, but it is shocking. And the noise pollution is completely unacceptable. The threat of surveillance on the community members is really alarming. We know that drones are most often used for the military and surveillance. And given the surveillance in the city and all the issues with police violence, I think the last thing that people in Portland are going to want are drones flying around that no one was really informed about. So please deny the permits for this drone facility, and please provide more transparency for these kinds of projects. We would like to see indigenous people and BIPOC people's voices heard, and we need to address the systemic racism in Portland. And I think that land should be given back to indigenous people. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much for your time.
Madam President, do you mind if I
Yes.
just ask Keith Levitt to just update briefly? Keith, any feedback here just in terms of process around the Verizon proposal?
Yeah, thanks, Curtis. So there will be a community meeting next week, and Verizon will be there. I think the folks that are saying we need more process, we would agree with that. The permit that went into the city is what I think folks are commenting on right now. The lease that would be pending with the Port of Portland is quite a ways away from actually being executed or coming to the commission for an official action. So there's a lot more community conversation that we want to have. And we're definitely, open to hearing about this particular site. It's a brownfield site. It has been vacant for a good well, we've never been able to do anything with the site. It has very little access. We would like to have good economic development for the community from this site. And we certainly want to hear more about the concerns and make sure that Verizon is in a position to be able to talk to those issues. So there's a meeting next week where we'll dig into that.
Okay, thanks, Keith.
Thanks, Keith and Curtis. And I will say to the community members who took time to come speak with us today, I think the commission, I speak for myself, but I think I can speak for the other commissioners to say it will be important to us to both have gotten your feedback today and to continue to get feedback from the community before we make decision on this topic. Thank you for coming.
Alice, can I make a few comments?
Please.
So we have 4 drones in our business that we use, and oddly enough, we're agriculture, so it doesn't quite seem like maybe the right place, but we use 4 of them. We use them for crop inspection. We use them for livestock movement and inspection of water holes and fences and all kinds of stuff. Pendleton also is the site, as you know, of a drone facility. Generally, you know, and then I'm a pilot. I'm not. I wouldn't say that I'm opposed to the lease, but I certainly have a lot of questions and would caution the port on moving too rapidly. They have the drones don't necessarily have a really good, well, there's a bit of a failure rate from time to time. The pilots are just like all pilots. They tend to push the envelope on what they do with them. And it just seems like downtown Portland, or down on at least where it's being proposed, might not be the best location. So I'll be anxious to see as the port and Verizon and the city work through this issue. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Levy, and I want to give opportunity if there are other commissioners that have a comment at this time. Okay, well, we will wait to hear more. Thank you very much. We'll move on to our consent, let's see, I'm sorry, general discussion item, which is Vince Granato is going to give us an update on PDX Next.
Okay, good morning, commissioners. I'm here just to talk a little bit about what's going on with PDX Next. And I've got some photos. There's just a lot of activity that's happening out on the campus that we don't get to see because we're just not out there quite often as much. So we thought we'd give everybody an update on the different projects. And then George will be along here shortly as well to ask for an amendment to the ZGF contract for some additional design. So I thought I would just go over the campus and walk through all the different projects that we've got going on. And this has been the 5 big ones here. And as we complete them, they turn white on the map, which is nice. So we've got 2 of them done, the quick turnaround facility for the rental cars, which we did a while ago. And then Concourse E was opened back in July. All of that is going along very well from an operational standpoint. We opened the ground load hold room down there last week to move Air Canada out there. And some of the concessions are starting to now put their plans forward to build out on Concourse E as well. So then what we've got are the remaining projects, which is the parking addition and the consolidated rental car facility, as we call it, the Packer project, the Concourse B remodel, and then obviously the big main terminal. So I'll try and hit each of those projects as we go forward. So Steve, I think you have the control if you can move to the next slide, please. So I'll talk about again, the Packer project. This is rental cars and both parking and rental cars in the large garage, and then the standalone rental car facility where the rental car operators will be on the first floor. And then we are relocating tenants from the mezzanine over in the terminal building to make way for the terminal core remodel project. So if you can go to the next slide here. So we are about 80% of the way done with the steel erection. And what you're looking at is you're looking from east to west. Obviously not today with a nice blue sky there. So, but the steel is going up rapidly. We should be done with all the steel erection by the end of the year. They're pouring the concrete decks right now. So this part of the project is really moving along quickly. And we've got about 200 folks on site right now working on this project. Safety record has been really good so far. And from a COVID standpoint, we've had only there were 2 positive tests, but they were able to go in and do all the cleaning that was necessary, and we really didn't lose any time. We did, I think if we can go to the next slide. I think we'll show so the decks that are being poured right now, all the concrete that's happening. This is the upper floor. And the next slide, please. So this is the rental car center. Again, the main floor will be where the rental cars will operate. And then again, floors 2, 3, and 4 will have the police, lost and found. TSA will be joining over there, the communications center. And again, everybody pretty much who's over in the mezzanine that we needed to get out of the way will occupy this facility. The next slide should show some progress of what's going on there. So this is the building as it's being constructed today. So walls are going in, the glazing is going in. One of the situations we had was with the fires and the facility, the whole construction program, anything outside was shut down for about 6 days just due to the smoke and the hazardous conditions. We decided to have an industrial hygienist come in and take a look and go walk through the facility. We didn't want to enclose the building if there were issues from the smoke. It's an unusual situation, but we had them go through and they gave us a clean bill of health here, so we didn't really need to do anything beyond that. So now we're just trying to make up some time here. But this facility is really moving along quickly. This needs to be done by August 1st of next year in order to facilitate the completion or the demolition really inside the main terminal building. They're on track for that right now. And there's just a lot of work that's going on there. This will be fully enclosed by the end of the year also. And then they'll get started on obviously all the internal stuff. There's already rough ends from plumbing, electrical, and walls are already going up in there. So it's moving along very quickly, and J.E. Dunn is the contractor here, and they're doing a good job of staying on schedule, which we really appreciate. The next slide, please. So the Concourse B remodel. This is going to be where Alaska Airlines will operate from. Right now, obviously, they are out at the end of Concourse C. And as you recall, we demolished Concourse A and the connecting little corridor down there. And so this is where B this is what it will look like when it is done. So here's the rendering. And then we've got some picture. I think I have one picture in here of what's going on right now. So this is the elevator shaft that's going in there. Steel will start next week. And then they're moving along very quickly as well. This is also the Hoffman-Skanska joint venture team that is putting this together. The challenging part here is, as you can see on the left side of the photo, is we were right next to the MAX track. And so we needed to shut down the platform for a period of time. And TriMet has been great to work with. We really appreciate their cooperation and coordination. The platform will remain closed through the end of this year, and we've been running a bus bridge from out in Portland International Center here, and that's been working fine. So again, we've really appreciated their flexibility that is allowing us to get in here in very close quarters with them. So Concourse B is all on track. This project is a little over $100 million, and it is scheduled to open in the fall of next year, sometime October, November range. And then let's go to the next one. Okay, so the new main terminal building. And we took the opportunity this week to issue some of the design concepts. This week was the 80th birthday for PDX. And so we thought that was a good time to acknowledge what people will be seeing here coming forward. So this is just the rendering of what it will look like. And we've got a number of the pictures that we have and some renderings that we have issued. So we put this one out yesterday. This will be the new ticket lobby area. And what I'd highlight here is obviously the ceiling. And the ceiling is going to be made of wood. And all these slats, we've been looking at a number of different construction methods for this, but also just how to get the right color of the wood itself. We're trying to make sure that we keep the soul of PDX. And today, right, the soul is, it's a warm, inviting airport. And what makes that happen is the wood and the carpet. And so we're trying to find what is the right mix of carpet versus hard surfaces on the floors. But there will be a lot of wood in this facility as you move forward. And we're working with our partners to make sure that we're getting it sourced locally. And ideally, we're going to be able to track and trace it right back to exactly where the forests were that it came from. Obviously, with the fires that happened earlier this year, we were pretty nervous about how that was going to impact it. We still don't know exactly how that's going to happen. Fortunately, both of the providers and the mills that we were contracted with to provide the wood were spared. One was in Lyons and the other one was in Eugene. And again, it was pretty stressful for everybody, obviously, in that whole time. And we were concerned about how that would impact it. We still don't know the impact on pricing yet, but so far, both these mills have survived just fine, and we're still working through with them on schedule. We don't think it's going to impact us anything going forward. But what you're going to see in the design, obviously, is very light, very open, and a much more flexible facility than what we've had before because of the way the building was constructed in the past with all of the hard walls, and again, 6 or 7 buildings all constructed together over various times. This will give us a lot of opportunity to remain flexible to the changing travel patterns that will be coming up that we don't even know about today. Obviously, how travel returns, what will the spacing requirements going to be? Will we be doing health checks and so on? This facility will give us a lot of flexibility to adapt to any of the changing conditions that might happen that are in place today or will be coming here in the next 5 years. We can go to the next photo here. So this is, you have now come through security at this point in time, and this one is looking out to the south. And so you've gone through the security checkpoint, you're headed south towards Concourse C to your right, Concourse B to your left. And again, very open, airy facility, lots of light, natural light. And so this will be an open space. You can see towards the center, we're planning on some hanging gardens there potentially. That would go there. To the left of that picture is the new Alaska Lounge that they're designing as well. So they're going to have a much larger footprint of a passenger lounge than what they had before. And then you see the concessions as well. So again, the intent on the concessions program is to have it be more neighborhood feel so that it's similar to perhaps Mississippi Avenue, 23rd and so on. So we're going to try and create that environment as well. We know the concessions program is a really important component to what makes PDX special. And so we're going to try and retain that as much as we can. The next slide, please. So how we're going to build that roof is going to be pretty complicated. And so in the December commission meeting, we'll be coming back with an amendment for the Hoffman-Skanska contract. And at that point in time, we'll show you a much more detailed view of the project execution plan. But the fundamental piece is we're going to construct all the roof in different sections and segments, and we're going to do it out by the fire station. So this picture is basically from the fire station across the field, looking back towards the terminal building. And you can see, obviously, the large concrete area there. So we built that whole facility there to construct that whole laydown yard and the roof sections. So it'll all be done here remotely. And then overnight, when that time comes, a couple years from now, it'll be rolled into place and brought over to the main terminal building and set in place in segments. And George will go through that here in the next couple of months. It's on the one hand, a really scary proposition as we look at what the construction is. But on the other hand, the Hoffman Skanska team and all of their partners have a very detailed project execution plan that gives me great comfort that that we have thought about every possible condition that could exist, whether it's wind, rain, snow, ice, you name it, mechanical issues, that they've got a plan in place to make sure that everything gets done safely. So this will be a very complex part of the project that will be coming here in the next couple of years. So the next slide. What you see here is one of the glue, it's called a glue lam, glue laminated beam. These are the curved sections that you saw in the original, excuse me, in the original piece. These are incredibly large and complicated, and the team went down to Eugene and got to see exactly one of these put together. I don't remember how many of these roof trusses there are going to be exactly, but there's a lot of them. And so they tested a couple of them out to obviously to mock it up. You get a sense of the scale of what these things are going to be. It's pretty impressive, and there's going to be a lot of wood that goes into constructing this. And again, this will all come from our Northwest forest. So we're very happy about being able to source it locally. If we can go to the next slide, please. This really just gives you kind of the overall feel of what the building is going to look like. And I'm not sure if my cursor shows up here or not, but you're looking at the main terminal building. You would walk in where these first line of columns are. This will be the ticketing area. You'll flow through to the center, and in the center where the trees are, that's considered what will be the new, if you will, the Oregon Market, or our Clock Tower Plaza as it's known today. So there will be concessions in there. Then you'll go beyond that, and you'll go either left or to the right, and those are the security checkpoints. Before you choose to do that, there'll be some stadium stair seating here in the center, and there will also be a 2-story restaurant there as well. That'll be pre-security. It'll have these great views looking out into the alley and out onto the airfield. The intent was, as you walk in the building, that you'd be able to see all the way through to the back and out onto the airfield. So you really get a sense intuitively of how you'll move through the building. Hopefully we'll need less signage, and it'll be a more obvious journey as you go through the process. Once you go through the security checkpoints, then you'll obviously go left for the Concourse B and C, and to the right for Concourse D and E. And then you'll get on your way to your gates from there. So it's a much larger footprint. The dotted line there shows the existing terminal footprint. You can see we're adding about 300,000 square feet. We'll go out 150 feet into the alley to build that new area. And that's the space that we're getting started on right now. Actually, you have to build that new area first in order to be able to go back in and demo the existing terminal building. So I think the next photo shows a little bit about what the work that's going on out there right now. So we have closed the inner gates, gate C2 and C4 and D2 and D4. And C2 and D2 will be closed permanently. Those will never come back, but we have closed the other ones just while construction is going on. And the area that you see right there is obviously a very, very old part of the facility. And what we're doing is a unique section. You can see just on the left part of the screen, there are some things that are kind of poking up out of the ground. What we're doing there is freezing the ground. And there'll be a whole area there that in order to control the water, because obviously being next to the river, the water table is very low. Normally what you would do would be to insert some, it's called sheet pile, just steel panels to prevent water. from getting into the site, but also there could be potentially some contaminated soil in there. What we've decided to do is to actually freeze the ground to be able to do the excavation, because this is where the large columns will be that will support that roof. It's a unique process. We've certainly not done it to this scale. We've looked at a couple of other facilities that have done this as well, and it's not an uncommon thing, just nothing that we've done here. So we've already started doing that. We're freezing the ground in order to excavate it and keep any of the water from moving around in there. So we think it's a good process to control any contamination that might be under there, as well as obviously control water getting into the site. So it's an unusual thing again for us, but we're very interested to get started on it. So we've already begun that process. Okay, the next slide, please. So, okay, so here's a much better view of it. So that's all those things go well down into the ground. In fact, that white thing right in the center of it is actually frost that's already on the ground, even though it's 60 degrees outside. We've already started the process of that, of being able to do the excavation there. And again, George will go through this in December. We'll again show more of those where all the columns are going to go to support the new roof. And the next slide, please. Okay, so that was basically the, sorry, that was the last photo. That was a quick update on all the construction that's going on. Everything is on schedule so far. Budget is doing well. There's still a lot of moving parts, certainly on terminal core. We're well into design. We've got another 6 months to go on that. And we're working with ZGF on that. And so we'll hold off on the formal action with George until we get through the rest of the agenda, but I'm happy to answer any questions from any of the commissioners on anything PDX Next.
Thanks for the presentation, Vince. That was really useful. As you say, most of us haven't been out to PDX in a long time, and so it's great to be able to see the progress that's been made, which seems amazing in the short time that we've been away. Do any commissioners have a question for Vince? Okay. Hearing none, we'll move on with the agenda. Thanks, Vince. I'll ask if any commissioner wants a presentation on the consent items. I'll read out the titles. Number 1, Commission Policy Number 6.1.2, Investments. And number 2, Authorization and Designation of Assistant Treasurers. I'll call for a motion and second for approval of the consent items, please.
I move to approve.
Second.
Thank you. Pam, would you lead us through the roll call vote, please?
Yes, Commissioners Alexander,
Aye.
Kouprokomis,
Aye.
Lamb,
Aye.
Levy,
Aye.
McDonald,
Aye.
Nemi,
Aye.
O'Halloran,
Aye.
Pierce,
Aye.
and Saruda.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pam. Vince, you're back up to introduce the first agenda item, please.
Sure. What this really is an amendment to the ZGF contract for additional design work. We've been doing it a bit at a time. We didn't want to give them the whole contract all at once, but as we've gone through the various phases, and so we're at another phase here that we need some additional money for them, and then we'll be back in December for an additional amendment on the construction piece of it. So George will walk you through the components of this amendment.
Thanks, Vince. So today we're asking approval for an amendment for ZGF to do final construction document development, really for phase 2 and concurrent construction administration services in the amount of a little bit over $24 million. Next slide, please. So this is, I believe, the 18th agenda item since September that we've brought in front of Commission. As Vince commented on, we are on schedule with the design. We're intended to be complete the main portion of design June of next year, and there'll be a couple of small things for TI type of work tenant improvement type of work that will drag on. past that. From a construction standpoint, Vince went through a lot of the Concourse B work already. Building steel will be delivered in the next week or so, and most of the steel should be erected by the end of November. And they had a couple of hits with the ongoing air quality and some contaminated soil they encountered, but they're still looking at being complete October, November timeframe of next year. From a Western Expansion and the ticket lobby standpoint, there are a couple of public-facing changes you'll see over the next few months. The South TSA checkpoint lanes will be moved the first week in November, further out in the middle of the South Node. In November, the Delta ticket counters will be moved from where they are to where Southwest used to be in the center of the ticket counter. And that's the precursor to us starting the construction of the throats to enable access to the security checkpoint lanes and demolition of the Oregon market. The temporary airline ticket counters, airline ticket offices, which are all behind the ticket counters, the trailers have been delivered, being installed, and some of the airlines will start in November, moving out into those locations. January, very early in January timeframe, the Concourse Quarter Connector will be demolished or start being demolished, and access between the AB or the BC concourses and the DE concourses will be severed. Also in October, United to prep for some of the concourse bypasses around the construction site, United will move from gate E2 down to E6, and then eventually the bypass will be constructed in gate E2. Next slide, please. So this will be a number of amendments that this commission has approved since the September of 2015 concept services. In April 2016, commission approved conceptual design services, and then in November of 2017, the airlines approved through the AAAC process phase 1 for $950 million. We then brought commission the contract amendment to do schematic design, as well as the initial design development for the Packer project. As we got into 2018 and 2019, a lot of the design, while they continued to design of T-Core schematically, the focus turned from a commission perspective to Concourse B. So the main design development project, as well as construction administration, and then the design to relocate the Horizon operations to the end of Concourse C. April 2019, we presented to commission and they approved the phase 1 portion of the project, which was the ticket lobby and the Western Expansion, the complete design development of that. And then when the airlines approved in August of 2019, the phase 2 of the project, which included the nodes and the rest of the ticket lobby, we then brought to commission the design development to about the 50% completion at that point for about $7.4 million. We're now taking the remainder of that contract to get that phase 2 development to 100%, as well as construction administration between now and next October to commission today. Last we saw commission in March for the construction administration for the Packer project, and there have been a series of executive director delegated authority contract amendments to a total of $124 billion. Next slide, please. As Vince commented, we've doled out this contract amendment over time, which we thought was the most cost-effective and efficient way to do it. We anticipate this contract amendment will get us through till October, November timeframe of next year, and then we'll be back then for the T-Core construction administration and probably some of the TI around the TSA checkpoint design. And we're delaying that design because the checkpoint designs are changing over time, and we don't want to be a little premature in the construction or in the design of that. Next slide, please. So overall project budget is $1.65 billion with about a $1.15 billion construction. The ZGF contract total, which will be the Packer portion of the fit up of the top 3 floors, as well as Concourse B and the T-Core main, is about $162 million. Contingency has remained pretty steady, a little over $170 million. Small business participation, we're tracking a little over 20% right now on the Hoffman Scans construction contract, and ZGF's design contract is tracking at about 10%. And with this amendment, it will continue to be about 10%. Next slide. And staff recommends approval of the executive director's recommendation. Any questions?
Madam President, I did have a quick clarifying question, if I could.
Please.
George, Vince, thanks very much. I understand that we're sort of staging these amendments. Can you, either one of you gentlemen, refresh my memory as to whether this amendment falls within the initial budget that we have had in terms of approval from the airlines? I know that we have staged that approval over time as well, and I'm trying to figure out if this falls within those dollars that have been committed, or if this falls into the space of additional funding that we may have to go and secure in the future, if my question is clear.
No, totally clear. I'm sorry. I should have probably been clearer with that, with the amendments. No, each of these amendments are within our planned expenditure and our overall project plan. It is not a scope change or an increase in what the airlines approved. It's just been doled out over time, but it's right within our plan.
Great. Thanks very much, George.
Yeah, just to clarify on that, we have had 3 separate approvals from the airlines. We had the first 17 million to get to just a high-level design cost estimate, and then we did a 933 million approval on top of that to get us to a phase 1, and then we got the balance last October for the remainder. So we have all $1.65 billion approved by the airlines. So we have all of the funding approvals in place.
Great. Thanks very much, Vince.
Any other questions? Okay, I will call for a motion and second to approve the executive director's recommendation.
I so move.
Second.
Any further discussion? Okay, Pam, would you lead us through the roll call vote, please?
Commissioners Alexander,
Aye.
Kupro-Comas,
Aye.
Lamb,
Aye.
Levy,
Aye.
McDonald,
Aye.
Nemi,
Aye.
O'Halloran,
Aye.
Pierce,
Aye.
Saruda.
Aye.
Thank you. I'll call on Dan Pippinger to introduce the last agenda item, please.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm very excited to bring this amended and restated intergovernmental agreement between the Port of Portland and TriMet. The main focus of this intergovernmental agreement creates 2 primary features, physical features. The first is for TriMet to add a second rail line between Gateway and the airport, which will improve service reliability. It will also allow TriMet to construct on behalf of the port a parallel walking and bicycle path between the terminal and the existing path network that converges at the 82nd Avenue and Air Cargo Road intersection. This really builds on the 25-year TriMet Port of Portland relationship that brought Air Max service to PDX back in 2001. And PDX was then one of the first airports to bring light rail to the airport. Right now, we have a serendipitous moment and an opportunity to coordinate the PDX Next projects to accommodate TriMet. There would be no room to add a second track and the multi-use path without first demolishing Concourse A, relocating Concourse B, and then shifting Airport Way to the north. And the PDX Next program provides that opportunity. All 3 of these things needed to occur in just the right way and the right timing to make these projects possible. And that is the point of the intergovernmental agreement. To present it, Sean Lochran, the Interim Director of Planning and Development, and Eric Forsyth, the Project Manager, will talk to you now about the agreement and the project.
Thank you, Dan. Good morning, Commissioners. it's great to actually follow that presentation by Vince and George, because a couple of things. Dan is absolutely right. We would not be able to do this project if not for all of the work that's underway as part of PDX Next. So that's kind of the first takeaway when I think about what we already heard this morning. The second is Vince talked a little bit about the things that make PDX special. And I think in that kind of suite of things that make us unique is that light rail connection that we have to the regional transportation system, and also bicycle access to the terminal. Before Eric covers the details of our commission item, I just wanted to take a moment to provide a little bit more of that background so you have some context in understanding how these two projects in combination are really part of a broader programmatic approach to landside access at PDX. Dan talked about the long-term partnership we've had with TriMet, and that's been important, but we've had this program underway at PDX for more than 20 years. And in that 20 years, we've had lots of firsts. We were one of the first airports in the country to have rail service to an airport terminal. We were one of the first airports in the country to have bicycle and pedestrian access to virtually the front door. We were the first airport to have a bicycle pedestrian master plan that doesn't deal with just circulation within the airport campus, but also talks about the connectivity we have to the regional transportation system and to the regional trails program. So all important things. This project, as Dan mentioned, it leverages that longstanding partnership we've had with TriMet. It leverages that prior investment that the port made with our other regional partners in light rail 20 years ago when we took light rail and we brought it from Gateway to the terminal, that 5.5-mile extension that was so important to us at the time, but also taking advantage of this moment to create that connection for the bike path. And really, when you see all the projects that Vince presented, when you talk about the connection to these projects that Dan described, it honestly is a matter of feet and inches that give us the space when we take down Concourse A, when we redevelop B, when we shift Airport Way eastbound to the north because we're able to do it because of Packer, when we improve the lower bag claim area as part of T-Core, it is allowing us to literally thread these improvements into that space, something that we otherwise might not have been able to do for a very long time. So it really is a unique moment for this. To just speak briefly about kind of this programmatic approach to transportation services at PDX and what it means, we've kind of got three core areas. I talk about inclusion, choice, flexibility, and consistency. And the first one is really to have a landside transportation strategy that ensures that both our passengers and our employees have good choices in terms of how they access the terminal. Flexibility is also critically important. It's about options. So from day to day, the ways in which people access the terminal and the challenges they face, they change all the time. And the more we have options where we can adapt and make sure that people have got good access to the airport terminal, it's going to be critically important. And the third thing is consistency. These two projects, like all of the other ones that you hear about in PDX Next, they're derived directly from the 2010 Airport Master Plan, and they reflect that community vision for a sustainable, compact central terminal with good transportation choices for all of our users. To give you a sense of how many people use light rail, it's about 6% of our passengers. It's about 5,000 passengers per day down at the airport light rail station. It has been a key service for our employees, and I know, as you've heard before, it's been a priority within our PDX workplace initiative. TriMet's goals for the project, I'm going to say they're simple, and it's to make transit better. And when they talk about making transit better, it's upgrades to the track, the stations, and the vehicles. Key focus for that is the reliability of the service, but it's also about safety, accessibility at the terminals, and making the ride as comfortable as you can for the passengers that use it. The PDX portion of it addresses one of two of these single track sections. It specifically is a reliability improvement. It doesn't just improve reliability in terms of access to the airport terminal, but it has system reliability benefits broadly for all of the light rail lines. So it's really key in terms of that. It extends the red line reach, not just to downtown, to Beaverton, but all the way to Hillsborough. It's always been very important for the port that we had a direct connection to downtown Portland where you didn't actually have to transfer between trains. That's been particularly important because of customers with bags. The more you can reduce those kind of transfers between light rail lines, the better off they are. And this really not only sustains, but continues to improve that. The project, it's over a $200 million project, $206 million. It's a 50-50 split between the Federal Transit Administration and TriMet. At $100+ million, it's the largest match that TriMet has ever put forward on one of these federal grant projects. So it is very significant for them. About a quarter of that investment happens right at PDX. So we are the beneficiary of a significant portion of that. Dan really talked about the opportunity, but I just got to emphasize that it is a unique moment to make the adjustments necessary to bring these services in, not only to get that second track, but to make it just wide enough that we can get a multi-use path in, something that we have planned for a long time, something that has been of interest to the community for a long time. It really has tremendous safety benefits in terms of people not having to cross Airport Way. You will now be able to get to the airport terminal on the north side, all the way to Bag Claim, and you'll be able to do it on the south side, all the way to Bag Claim without having to get onto Airport Way and to stay on a safe, independent, multi-use path the whole way there. Just real briefly, we have had this partnership with TriMet. It has been a team approach. The first IGA was in April of 2019, and we've certainly completed a lot of work since then. It's a tenant improvement approach compared to just a capital project, which you see so much of. It means we have a single designer and a single contractor, and it leaves the delivery responsibility with TriMet. A lot of that will be stuff that Eric will cover in his agenda items, so I'll leave the details to Eric.
Great. Thank you, Sean. Thank you, Dan. Good morning, everyone. Today we're requesting approval to execute an amended and restated IGA between the Port and TriMet for the MAX Red Line Extension Project and multi-use path at PDX. This IGA includes conditions and terms for the payment of approximately $4.2 million. Next slide, please. As you can see here, this is the latest rendering for the new proposed platform and multi-use path at PDX. You can see the new Concourse B in the background. This is a standard platform, new everything, including lighting and multi-use path. This rendering has undergone quite a few design iterations, and we're fairly proud of the work that's been undergone up to this point. Next slide, please. This is a map of the planned work up to this point. You can see moving from left to right, the location of the removed and replaced platform, the alignment of the second track that's being added for reliability purposes that Sean and Dan talked about earlier. The yellow is the alignment of the new multi-use path on the south side of Airport Way. with a new at-grade crossing just north of the existing U.S. Postal Service facility. TriMet's also going to be shifting Air Cargo Road to the south to make room for the second track and new multi-use path. And this map, last but not least, shows the port's portion of the path that we are designing and constructing, utilizing our own resources to connect once and for all TriMet's multi-use path with the existing multi-use path just south of the PDX Travel Center. Next slide, please. The short list of the new amended and restated IGA is listed here. It primarily constitutes terms and conditions for multi-use path design and construction. We cover the new platform in the new IGA. We cover tenant improvement permitting requirements, as well as insurance and bonding requirements. We do have some language in the new IGA for the new signal and communications room required as a result of this new project and the T-Core project. Once again, this demonstrates the synergy between this multi-use path and light rail project and all of the work going on within the PDX Next program. It's quite complicated, and we've got a great team to deliver this work. The new IGA also covers project closeout procedures. Next slide, please. Schedule is as shown. It's fairly simple. We only have two commission actions, the first of which is today. The team has been working on the project since 2017, and construction will begin with the port connector work next summer, and then it'll conclude with TriMet's work in 2022. Next slide, please. Budget is summarized as shown. Funding is from the Port Cost Center. The contingency amount looks to be small on this slide, but it actually just covers the port connector work. The TriMet scope of work budget amount includes their own contingency, which they control. And then last but not least, we cover port staff, contracted services, and then a future budgetary amount for a public improvement contract for the connector work, which will be coming back to commission this coming spring, as the schedule indicates. Our disadvantaged business enterprise goal is primarily TriMet's responsibility for their entire Red Line extension project. They have a 19% goal for design services, 20% for construction services. Work on the connector for our disadvantaged business enterprise is to be determined. It'll be based on availability primarily, and that will be determined at the turn of the new calendar year. Next slide, please. Staff requests approval of the executive director's recommendation. And we're happy to field any questions that you may have.
Thank you for the great presentation. You actually answered several of my questions, including about the contingency. I also appreciate the work that you guys have done in thinking about how to mitigate issues that might result from two agencies working together that were put forward in the presentation in the written materials. Do any commissioners have any questions on this proposal?
No, I don't. But I echo your views, Alice.
Thank you, Commissioner Saruda. Any other questions or comments before I call for a motion? Okay, I'll call for a motion and second to approve the executive director's recommendation.
I will move.
Second.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All right, Pam, will you call the roll call vote, please?
Yes, Commissioners Alexander,
Aye.
Kupro-Comas,
Aye.
Lamb,
Aye.
Levy,
Aye.
McDonald,
Aye.
Nemi,
Aye.
O'Halloran,
Aye.
Pierce,
Aye.
and Saruda.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was the end of our agenda, so I will adjourn the meeting. Thank you for your attendance.
Thank you. Stay safe.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.
Stay safe.